let's be clear that this is not news that this audit is being presented, that the audit is and has been a public document for years. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I thank you for your time. I'll be relatively brief, but I do want to share with you some insights about our audit of the Chamber's financial statements and our related procedures. You all are familiar with our firm from the standpoint of our audit of the city's records and so forth. Probably what you're not aware of is that last fall we completed our 11th peer review. Now that term probably doesn't mean anything to you. It doesn't mean anything to most people outside of the accounting community, but we are voluntary participants in our National Association's private company practice section. And what we do there is every 3 years we have outside independent CPAs come into our firm, review our work papers and review our work, just like our folks audit and review the city's work. We have had both the city's audit engagement and the Chamber's audit engagement subjected to that process multiple times over our last 11 peer reviews. They happen every 3 years, so that's over a 30-year plus period. We have never had any exception throughout that entire period, nor have we had any problems or issues with any of our oversight agencies over the 70 years of our firm. In short, and I think your staff folks will confirm this, we don't cut corners. We do quality work, and we do quality work for you here at the city, and we do quality work with regard to our audit of the Chamber. Having said that, obviously, no audit can review every single transaction. I mean, neither the time allotments nor the cost versus benefit would allow for such. So obviously we have to do samples of various work, and then we, using our professional judgment, we rotate and vary those procedures over the various years until we're always hitting the most significant areas, as we judge on a year-to-year basis. We've expressed a clean opinion on the Chamber's audit this year and for the last however many years that we've been doing the audit, a long time. And that clean opinion states that the financial statements present fairly the financial position, the operating results, and the related cash flows of the Chamber and its subsidiary, the Commerce Center. The Chamber is in excellent financial condition. Over the last several years, deliberately, they've built reserves of nearly a year's worth of operating expenses so as to be well protected if there should be a catastrophic event in the area. We think just like the city needs to build reserves for those threats, every business in this area should build reserves for those threats, and that includes not-for-profits. Too many people have a misunderstanding that not-for-profits shouldn't build reserves and shouldn't retain any cash whatsoever. Well, what happens when you have a catastrophic event then? You're wiped out. So the Chamber's in great shape from that regard. Just a few brief highlights that I'll review with you about the Chamber's financial statements. Had roughly $21.6 million in total assets. Liabilities were roughly $5.8 million. So that leaves about $15.8 million of net assets. Of that $15.8 million of net assets, $7.9 million is restricted for subsequent year marketing expenditures. And the board has designated the remainder of that balance, $7.5 million, for operating reserves, and then the other remainder is designated for specific projects like something that you'll be familiar with, Leadership Grandstand, for example. But the Chamber's financial statements, and as Councilman Jeffcoat pointed out, those financial statements are available to everyone, not just you as council that supply a great deal of support, but for all of the public to review at any time. And those specific designated projects are listed in the notes to the financial statements for the Chamber each year. One final note that I'd like to advance to you is that in 2017, Chamber had roughly $42 million in revenues and support, and they expended approximately $36 million for marketing. So that equates to about 86% of their revenues being expended for marketing of the Myrtle Beach area. Our assessment would be that the Chamber is doing what the Chamber is supposed to do, and they do it very well. I'd be happy to entertain any questions that any of you might have.
I do have a question, please. You are licensed, and would you please explain for the benefit of everyone here today, what would happen to your company if you were found to be falsifying your audit or not turning in the correct information?
Well, not only would we be prohibited from functioning any longer, but it would be a criminal act. I mean, you know, to somewhat bounce off of what or segue from what the Chamber's chair indicated, when there are these misinformation assaults, all of us, it's an insult to you all, it's an insult to us as a professional. Integrity and independence is at the heart of the certified public accounting profession. And to suggest that there would be any sort of collusion or act, or that any amount of money could encourage you to do so, is really just ridiculous. So I hope that gave you a sufficient answer there, but yes, ma'am. Anybody else?
And Bob, how long have you guys been in business?
This is our 70th year.
Okay.
I guess actually this is our 71st year. We've completed 70 years now.
Wow.
Yes, sir. And I've been here for 42 years, so we've been at it a long time.
And again, for the benefit of everyone here, there has been much talk about forensic audits.
Yes.
Would you please explain what that actually is and how one is even ordered to be conducted?
Yes, ma'am. Forensic auditing would be a more detailed, in-depth review of specific areas where there was perceived to be a problem. I will tell you that clearly with regard to when there have been as many assertions that have been made over the last number of years, clearly that affects what we do with regard to our audit. And I think there's just an awful lot of misunderstanding, misinformation out there about various vendors and so forth. I mean, for example, why would you choose to go outside of our area to engage an advertising agency when we have multiple advertising agencies here within Myrtle Beach, and those dollars are going to continue to get rolled over in Myrtle Beach? I mean, the average rate, based on a study that was done out at Coastal, is a dollar spent in the area will roll over 7 times. So that's a big difference in those dollars being expended. Say we hire an advertising agency in Charlotte, for example. You send them that same $3 million, they retain 10% of it, and the rest of it they expend for the various advertising functions. Why would you do that when we have perfectly capable agents, locally? So, forensic, the chamber asked us recently about whether they should engage a forensic auditor just to, prove. And my response at that point was that I think you give credence to folks that don't have any yet, and why would you do so? So that's my response to that.
And you have never found anything in any of your audits to cause a red flag for you to feel that one should be done?
None whatsoever.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
And Mayor, I would only say that this council really appreciates and takes to heart the counsel we get from our award-winning financial team headed by Mr. Shelton. And again, you speak with confidently about his competence, the working relationship you have with our financial people.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Any other questions, council? Thank you so
all.
much.
Good luck. Appreciate your service.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.